Good afternoon from Yummy BTV. Wishing you all well. Sending loads of love to you all as well. I thought I'd just come up and do this video while I remember to. About a case, right? Well, an individual case this one is, but there's a few men like this in the system, right? And it's when a man gets found guilty of rape, but he ain't done it. And then evidence later on, DNA and everything, turns it all around to somebody else. And that man spends all those years behind a door. And you can imagine, for those of us that have been there, for those that haven't, it went something like this. It goes something like this now. This particular case is Victor Neelan, right? He got a discretionary life sentence for a rape, right? He's in the category A, so you can imagine the kind of treatment that he got, right, throughout that sentence. And he's protesting his innocence for all that time. So he can't get out. He can't get out. He can't get a BCAT, can't get his, was in Wakefield to the final bit, I think, after that, before he got his appeal and everything. So certain times along the years, I booked people and I was wrong. They looked like they might have been and they weren't. You know what I mean? It's a very, very serious thing to have allegations against you and it ain't you. It's like when you've got rumours and gossip where people say you're this and you're that, and you know that you ain't. Because you know the games that people play when they're trying to get you back, they will do things or blow them out of proportion to make it sound like a different way to what it was. And in the category A's, it was legendary for that. And I've got to be honest, that I was legendary for that because I knew that certain people was doing it to me, so I would do it back in the mind games and the gameplay and in the jungle. But in that particular case, 3 or 4 others, there's another geezer called Jordan, I forgot his name anyway, you lot tell me. He gets, imagine that, so you get hot water thrown over you. You try normal location first because you don't want to go and mix with those kind of people because on the protection wing, because you know that you never did it. So your pride might make you want to come on normal location. I say, nah, I didn't do it. You know what I mean? But where nobody else has got nothing better to do in there, like it was always us and versus anyone with a sexual offence, would get the hitman, would go and boil him up or stab him up and that. Even though we all know that it is the scourge of the earth when you do things to children and women and that kind of stuff, or take something like that from somebody without permission. You know what I mean? You know, it's an unwritten rule, and it always has been in the system. You know what I mean? But when you ain't done it and you get vilified, imagine doing 17 years. And I know other men as well that are booked as well. Say, boy, I mean, you got that wrong, and you made it difficult for them, man. You know what I mean? And then it comes out. What do you say when you see them again? Now that their innocence has been proven. You know what I mean? It's a lot to stomach in those places. The screws will play their part as well. You know what I mean? And then all he says is at the end of that, Mr. Neelan says, thank you. Yeah. And gets back out. But it's a liberty. And we campaign, and we, on Yummy BTV, we help the vulnerable. You know that we don't believe in doing things to innocent people or vulnerable people or doing things and that. You know, we highlight a lot of those things, but sometimes it's the other way around. So it's not like some you lot have messaged me saying, yeah, you forget about the men sometimes though, in the domestic abuse, who get bullied, and I know what that feels like as well. But I didn't book it that way, you know what I mean? I just sat there and done nothing, but really it is a form of it as well. It is, but it depends how your threshold is, isn't it? You know what I mean? And you don't mind being told, you know, people being bad to you, women being bad to you, whatever, but you know what I mean? It swings in roundabouts, I say, but you know, when you get older, you learn better about certain things. But for a man, for any crime to be in jail for something he never done is probably the worstest thing that could ever happen. You know, the IRA back in the day, not the IRA, but Irish, those cases of Birmingham killed, you know, and it wasn't them. Think how what they had to go through. Because remember, they're political. It's like when the Muslim prisoners came in and the screws, everybody's going to be against the Irish thing because they're doing stuff, they're meant to be doing stuff on the mainland, in people's countries. So, you know, the systems are designed with personnel, with authority, that, you know, you can't come and do that in our country and do. But you played your part. in nailing these guys to the cross, giving them beatings down the block, and it wasn't them. How about that? In the end, God will come through, I believe, for certain things. You know what I mean? Remember that case? I'm going to do that for you, Neil. Kessler, what was his name? And he came out and he was only out a year and he died after doing all that time. And he didn't do it. There was a case in Australia as well, where that lady, she planted all the evidence and everything and turned on her husband and she'd done something. It's a big case in Australia. I forgot what the name of the geezer is. But it worked out that she got burnt for it. Perjury. So it's all right, they want to go up and stand up in a box and go like that and yeah, you'll get a rough time, I'll get you back and and I'll say it's a small percentage of women, it's not a lot of women that would do that, to be honest. But it's not unheard of. You see what I mean? And it's a time like this where I think to myself, boy, imagine that. Name calling against what, I'm going to tell you about something soon. It bugged me and bugged me and bugged me, and you don't like to be accused of things you haven't done. It's bad when people twist things. But like I said, I played my part in doing that because it was game playing in the jungle, but I wouldn't do that outside. I wouldn't do that to anyone, because that means if you do that to that person, you must really hate. And not if it's different if they haven't, you know, when you ain't done nothing to somebody. But they, well, you know what I mean? You might have gone with a couple of ladies or something, and then they would say things, married ladies, and then they want to go back round somewhere and say something else because you don't see them no more and all that. Call them Bennett, man. It's fucking mad, isn't it? I know, it bugged me. I was steaming about something once. I was thinking to myself, boy, you ever try that? You know what I mean? I turned up somewhere once as well while I was out this time, and I'll tell you all about it one day. They was all shook, the whole place. I was fuming. I was a bit going through that rough time last year, that kind of stuff. But I think I told you about it anyway, but it's not a nice feeling. I was tearful. So imagine what it's like in there when the whole system despises cases of that nature. Yeah, because the one argument that they always brought, right, to the table with that thing is, and it is true, rape is a very difficult charge to get convicted of, because there has to be some kind of evidence. You know what I mean? It is. So people think through historic knowledge in the system to be proven, word against word ain't enough sometimes. You've got to have other things to go with it. You know what I mean? Or, you know, you get the wrong jury or the wrong judge. I mean, you heard about certain cases. All you have to do is have the wrong solicitor speaking for you one day, and it goes against you for a case that you was really meant to win. This is why we got Jason Moore, we got people like that. They think, oh God, if I'd have known what I know, I didn't know how the system worked. I didn't know. If I'd have told them, they didn't say anything that I asked them to say. So then they got to lie there and they ain't done it. It's bad, isn't it? Bad, bad, bad. I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, that's enough anyway. But I think you get my drift. You messaged me. I said that I would do that for you. And that case of Victor Neelan is a high-ranking case of we got it wrong, right? And there's others now coming out with a couple of their things as well on social media. So see you on the live tonight. Loads of love.